All right. So I'm going to walk us through how the Zoho Books, which is the Zoho's accounting system, works. Right. So this is a all-in-one Zoho application whereby anything concerning your accounting, the system handles everything around accounting. So let's just go through a demonstration of this system. So as you can see, Zoho Books right here, and the first thing we notice is that we are currently on the dashboard interface, which is the dashboard here. So the dashboard is the major place the system is built to help business owners or the management to understand what are the key parameters in terms of the financial state of the company. The first is the total receivables. So we want to know the payments that are due. These are people that are owing the company. So the receivables, you can easily track it here. And this is populated from invoices that has been sent out to clients. And once a particular duration for that invoice ought to be paid, and the client hasn't made that payment. So the system starts picking those overdue invoices, and that's how you get your total receivables. We have your total payables. These are your bills, your expenses that you need to pay to vendors. So that's for the payables. We have cash flow. You get to see all your in and out in terms of transaction in the organization. These are other dashboards reporting. We have the income and expense. You get to see total income, total expense. Top expenses will be populated here. This is also for projects. You can add projects and track them in terms of transactions that happens in that same project. So we have bank and credit card. This is you list all your accounts, your banking accounts here, and you're able to know in terms of the financial state of each of those accounts, in terms of how much the receivables from that particular account. So yeah, so this is the dashboard interface of Zoho Books, and this populates in real time. All you need to do just put in your data, make invoices, record, post transactions, then automatically the dashboard start populating. So to quickly go through the other modules, as you can see, the system on this column section here, it is aligned in the same format. So that is how the system is built. And this alignment arrangement was made intentionally the same because it's a process. Once you go through the workflow, you're not supposed to have any challenge. Just go through the workflow of how the modules are arranged. So going with the first one, which is the item. Item is the section whereby you can add and also list your services. So it comes in two categories. We have for the goods and we also have for services. So this is where you get to list your items. If you're into goods, you can list your units, and this also helps provide you like an inventory for the system here. So this is the item section here. We also have the next area, which is called the sales. The sales, as you can see, is a drop down, and in the drop down, we have all these other parameters. And if you notice, we have customer, because for you to raise an invoice, you need to first list in your customers. So this is the module for listing customers, or you can quickly import your customers directly into the system, right? So once a customer has been listed in, you just click on the customer. We get to see a full breakdown of all the customer's information. From the first thing which you notice here, we have the name of the company, we have the overview. This is more of like all information related to those particular cost company. So you get to see them here. And also the system provides a portal access for the client. That's for your customer. This simply means once you invite a customer via the portal access, what happens is that the the customer can see all the transaction or all the documents that is related to them. So these are the documents they can see, and that's why these other options were provided. So if you invite a customer into a portal, so what means that on the comment section, you can also have comments in-house and also for clients as well. So we have for the transactions, the client can see all the transactions that have transpired with from their own end and your company's, and this also helps for collaborative reconciliation in case of we need to go through anything. So we have the mail section here, and we also have your statements for this particular client, and this can be exported or printed out. Oh, so yeah, so that's the customer module. And this section here, if a document has been attached to this customer, you can see that this icon here. And if you click into it, you can also upload other documents and it's tagged to this particular customer. So the other more options here, okay, these are other options, but we won't be going into that. So that's for the customer module, and that's how this works. So moving on to the quote. So quote is the next module here where you can quickly create estimates to clients or prospects. So it's pretty straightforward. This is how the interface looks. You select the particular customer you want to give a quotation, and you add the date of quotation, expiry date. If you, let's say for 14 days, most people do after a month, so it depends. You can add the expiry date of your quotation here. Then the salesperson, you can connect and add a sales team member. That's person who's responsible for bringing this particular sales in, or the person talking to the client. That's in case for organization where you have salesperson and you have the account people just raise official invoices. So this is salesperson. They can use this to track. Then you can quickly create the invoice section here. This is also straightforward. You just add the item, or if you've already listed your items on the system, they can populate here. You just select and you add the quantity, the rate. If it's a VAT, you just add the 7.5 value added tax on this and you save it. So the system gives you options here. You can save it as a draft, or you can save and send it directly to the client via email. So yeah, so that's for the quotes. So once a quote, the reason why estimates are important is because once you create an estimate, it doesn't hit your balance sheet, right? So, but once you create an invoice, it hits. So that's why you can create a quote. So the idea for this is that once you've created a quote and the client is ready to go, if you notice this quote there's no account information listed here for client to make payment. So that is where you can convert this to an invoice. You just click on convert to an invoice. So what happens is that this particular quote we've created, we just finalize the same information on the quote. Now we see this is the company, right? So if you're okay with this, you just click on all the way down and save and send. So this invoice can be sent. So right from here, you can send this out to a client. So that's the option here. You just need to connect your email. So you can see send from, you add your own email there. So that's how you can convert quotes to an invoice. So if you notice for this particular client, we've already converted this invoice. So if we go back to this, so the invoice we just converted, which is this, right? So as you can also notice that the invoice is pretty straightforward. You can create an invoice directly here. You just select the same module, create the invoice, select the client, and fill the other necessary information. You can save and send, or you can save as a draft. So that's for the invoice section here. And the next thing is that once a client has made payment, let's say this particular invoice, which is this. Now this client has made payment. So the system also allows you to record this payment, right? So all you need to do is select OK. Now this is the invoice value of 50,000 naira. So you can, how much was received? 50,000 was what we sent as an invoice. So 50,000 was the same thing amount we received. Now you fill the payment receipt date on this day, the payment mode, they made via bank transfer, which accounts, you can select the bank, and now we can save this. So for another scenario, I know you want to ask, okay, what if the client made half part payment? So what we can do, you still come back to here, this section. If the client made just 30,000 naira, let's just record 30,000 naira and we click save as paid. So what happens is that the system notifies us that yes, the client has paid 30,000 naira, but there's still the balance of 20,000 naira, and this still stays there. So when the client comes back to make this full payment, you just go back and just click on the same record, the payment, and do the same thing. If the client made 15,000 or any amount, or they paid in full, you just leave it like that. So that's how you can also record payments, scenarios whereby clients don't pay in full. Now, if you notice under the same invoice, you can always go back to edit. You can send this invoice as an email directly from the accounting system, Zoho Books. You can set reminders for this. You can download this as a PDF or you can print it. And this is the option to record payment. So they have other options here. You can quickly make this a recurring invoice, which as you can see, this is the module for recurring invoice here, or you can make it a recurring invoice means you create this invoice one time and the system is automated to keep sending the invoice at the right time. Let's say it's a monthly retainer service and you've already given them the invoice and this monthly retainer service needs to be honored at least at the last month, the last day of the month. That's monthly. So you can quickly make a recurring invoice and that's where this works. So you can clone, view this in a journal and the other options here. So that's for the invoice section here. So sales receipt is straightforward. This is where you can create a professional sales receipt, which you can send to a client just to confirm proof of payment you've received towards their purchase. So this is for payment receipt. So recurring invoice. So this is the same area. We can just quickly make a recurring invoice. Either we come to this section here, select the customer. Let's say monthly retainer as a profile. Okay, so this is a monthly. We are starting on the 1st of this month. So if we have an end date, you can select this. But if there is no end date, let's say this contract is for a year, we can just click allow never expires. So what this means is that every month it keeps sending that in, it just keeps sending the recurring invoice. So yeah, so if you want to associate a salesperson, you can add. So let's just add a random item here. Okay, so it means every month we are sending this out. So let's save this. So this recurring invoice has been activated. As you can see, it's active and every month. So the next invoice will be generated on August, right? 2026. So that's the idea of this, right? So you can get to see the next invoice dates, right? So recent activities. So any update or anything made on this, it's like a trail, just like a trail. You get to see those activities here. Now, at any point, if the client says like, okay, we want to stop this, so you can always come back to stop it, to just stop it, or you can just tick and click on stop. So let me just stop this. All right, so that's how we can create recurring invoices. Okay, so moving on, we have payment receipt. So this works, or this is more of like an automated field. So if you go to the invoice, once this is the payment we recorded 30,000 naira when we recorded this invoice partially paid. So once you record a payment here, it automatically populates on the payments received. Or if you want to add it manually, let's say for services that was not invoiced earlier, you can just quickly record it by adding the customer name and how much was received, the bank payments, and all this information. So this is how you can do it manually, but it's always best to do this on an invoice that has been invoiced to clients. Okay, so that's for that. And for the credit note, this is the section whereby you get to create a credit note on behalf of a client or a services that maybe you were not able to deliver correctly. So that's for how to handle with the credit notes. Okay, so the next we have the purchase. This is for vendor expense. So it's quite similar to the sales module here where you have your customer. So if you look at it under the vendor, you list all your vendors right here. So that's how the vendor works. Or you can also import your vendors directly into the system with the import function. So we have the expense. So this is the expense module. How best you can use this depends on how your organization functions. So you notice here, so let's create a new expense. So let's say an expense that has already been paid for. Let's say it is just we paid 50,000 naira for advertising for an advert, or let's say to place an advert. So what we can do, we can select the particular chart, post it under the ledger here, advertising, how much, 50,000 naira, right? So we can just quickly add the let's say the receipt of that expense. And the next thing you can do here is to just select how was it paid, maybe through any of this petty cash or through the bank transfer petty cash. If this is paid to a vendor, you can select the vendor name here and you can just save it. Or if it is a payment whereby you just quickly want to incur this expense on behalf of let's say this is scenario one, is whereby you're just recording an expense that your company incurred for a particular need. So you can record it this way. And most times, let's say for an advertising ad purchase, most times you don't purchase this by a vendor. So you can remove the vendor option, which is this. You don't need to select this. But if it was purchased from a vendor, you can just select the vendor name here. Now this is scenario one. The scenario two of recording these expenses is, let's say an expense has already been incurred for a client. Now this is the expense. We did an advertising and marketing expense for a client. Now we can just select the customer here. Right, so this is for this customer. And let's say we raised an invoice for this particular advertising and marketing services, and the official cost we gave to the client was 200,000. Now we know that the major expense we incurred on that particular project is 50,000 naira. So we can record this on and tag it to the customer we raised that service for, and we save it. So this helps you to know how much expense goes in the services you render to client. That's for service-based companies. Now the third scenario is whereby the client, it's more of like a pay-as-you-go. So this is the particular amount expense we incur to deliver that service to a client. You can record this and you can tag it as billable, meaning that the client is the one that will be paid, that should pay for this 50,000 naira. So what happens is that the system will post this as a billable income, like a receivable to this client. So that's the option of this, meaning that this client is going to pay for this expense. So that's the three scenarios on how this expense module works. So the first one is for your direct expense. The second one is for an expense incurred for a client for a service that they have paid us for. And the third one is a billable expense to a client. And that is the three scenarios you can utilize this expense section. So moving on to time tracking. So we won't go much into this. Time tracking is more of like, let's say you want to track the man-hour time that goes for each service, each task, or each project. So that's where you can use this time tracking. Let's say a project for a web development, and you want to know how long it took some of the team members in terms of that project. So that's where the time tracking comes in. So the next time tracking, this is for the project, this is for the timesheet. So that's for each of the tasks in a project. So moving on to the banking section here, you can quickly add your accounts, right? Add them manually into the system. And we have the import statement section here. You can also import statements, financial statements from those particular banks, tag it to the right bank. Because once you've added your bank manually into the system, when you want to upload the statement, it's going to ask you what bank. You select the bank and you can post in that statement here. So that's for the banking section here. And we have the accounting manual journal for your manual bookkeeping, and whereby you can post things directly like into the system and for reconciliation, right? But we also have the other option here, which is the chart of accounts. So chart of accounts, this is the system already provided chart of accounts, which is a global chart of accounts standard one. But the system also gives you an option to add your chart of accounts. So you can add a chart of accounts and also tag it to an already existing account. So that's how the chart of account work. Or you can do an import your preferred chart of accounts to the system. So we have reports. The system gives us up to 64 reporting templates, and all these templates, you don't need to work on it. All you need to do, just use the system, activate the system, make post into the system, and as you're posting everything into the right ledger, so the system starts populating the reports. And we have 64 reporting templates here, from profit and loss to cash flow. We have sales by item, sales by customers. We also can quickly search reports here based on the names. So we have for inventory valuation. So you can also see the inventory valuation report. So for the profit and loss, you can click into the report. All you need to do, click into the report, and you can also create a range on terms of the date, today, on the month, quarter, and you can run the report. The system also provides an option to export this either in PDF or Excel format. And this applies to all of the other reports, right? So yeah, so this is for the report section. And finally, we have the documents. This is where you can upload documents. So if you're using, because the Zoho Books has a mobile application itself. So once you're using the mobile app itself, you can, this is more friendly on the mobile app, meaning you can auto scan documents, receipts, and upload it directly into the system and map it to the right customer. And that is how we were able to, it's because of this upload document, and that once you upload a document, tag it to a customer, when you go back into the sales section, customer, this particular customer, you get to see the document you mapped to that document. So it is connected, they are connected, as you can see here, which is the company name, and this is the customer section, and this is the document. So make an upload here, tag it to the customer, or make an upload here, tag it to the vendor, right? So that's how you can, or you can even make an upload here and tag it to the right account. So let me just show you how this works quickly, although I would not want, okay, let's say take this profile. Okay. So ideally, that's how the system works, and this is how you can utilize the system for a complete accounting solution.